Welcome to the Boss Hijabipreneur podcast for women of faith and business looking to take their careers or businesses to the next level without compromising their faith. If you're ready to begin taking action on your entrepreneurship goals, learn tips, tools, and strategies to execute consistently and manifest the life of your dreams, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Halima de Oliveira, business strategist, three-time author, using the fusion of faith and finances to lead female-led e-commerce brands to 6 and 7 figure revenue targets annually. Ready? Let's work. Tune into today's episode, Already in Progress. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Bossy Jabbipreneur podcast. This is episode 68, Getting to the Bag, How to Create a Financially Sustainable Muslim Community. And so, business or corporate sustainability is the management and coordination of environmental, social, and financial demands and concerns to ensure responsible, ethical, and ongoing success. So here are a few key components. And so where this particular episode is coming from is I actually gave a presentation not too long ago. And I felt like this was such an impactful conversation that I wanted to share it with the Boss Hijabipreneur community and beyond. And I think that it's a great place to start the conversation for having a financially sustainable community. And, there are some, Muslim communities that have already created these types of foundations and they are, prosperous, they're productive, etc. But then there are other communities that are still, making headway. They're still, trying to, get it together. We may, see this, more so in the Black or Latino community where they are just starting to really make some headway and pave the way for Muslims within that demographic as well. And so that's what sparked this conversation. And I wanted to share it with the Boss Hijabipreneur community and anyone who listens to the podcast, inshallah. So here are a few key components that should exist in your community plan. And I also think that this is a way that you can create. So where, our first sense of community or our first community is that within the family. And so you can actually use these key components that I'm going to share with you today. You can actually use them in your family plan. And so you can start within your immediate family, and as you see it working, as you see progress, you can share it with your community leaders, or you can create this community. And inshallah, it helps to create this thriving, community that, can begin to make a positive impact in the global landscape as well. So, the first thing that you want to do is you want to identify what needs to be sustained. So you want to, talk about maybe the value. So a lot of, what sparked this conversation or what was around this conversation is, maintaining our Islam as it was during the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as close to it as we can, and not having to deviate, based on, different laws that are coming about and based on different things, especially in the educational system, for our, younger children also, once they move up, into secondary school and college, etc. And so not having to, make those compromises, from a faith standpoint, and being able to have more of a say in what they're learning in school, etc. You also want to identify what resources are required. So in most cases, the first resource that we can think of is money. And so money is probably the resource that is lacking, especially in non-affluent communities of color. Excuse me. So that is where we find a lot of this, lack of this resource. So this money resource, financial resources in those communities. And so how do we if we don't have necessarily the access to capital readily available, how do we create an opportunity for us to either raise the capital or to acquire the capital? And so identify what resources are required. So money, of course, also education, so financial literacy, education, different resources, also people. So people that are able to help to teach in these different areas. So we want to make sure that we are pulling from the talent that is either within our community or looking outside of our community and looking at, maybe how other communities are able to thrive, how other communities have been able to, create financially, sustainable communities, looking to them for, advice, looking to them for, where they are thriving, taking on, some of those characteristics or taking some of those lessons and bringing them into our community. And then, where there are other needs of the community, addressing those, as we see fit within our community. So identifying what resources are required. And this is, pulling together, community leaders, right? So, finding people that, want to help, you achieve this and want this for their family as well. And collectively, you coming together to achieve this goal. Create community case statements. And so, community case statements is, all right, so we want to achieve this specific goal, or we have this specific issue or concern that's going on in our community, and we want, this new community or to solve for this particular, case, or to solve for this particular, problem or concern in our community. So creating different community case statements that this community will solve for, so they'll solve the problem that this particular problem for the community as a whole. And then to determine financing strategies. So this part is a huge component, because you have to pay people. You have to pay people to do X. You have to pay people to do Y. You have to pay people to do Z. And so determining the financing strategies. Not only how are we going to fund the building of this community, but also how are we going to sustain it, right? So how are we going to sustain it? And then a question that I think, many communities that fail or barely get off the ground is they don't think further ahead. How do we grow it, right? So how do we, start it? How do we sustain it, and how do we grow it? And it's one of the, primary foundations of my organization, which is BUNHD LLC. And we talk about helping, businesses to start, sustain, and grow, right? Grow, scale. So how do we do that, both as a family? So this is a plan that you can create for your family, and then also as a community. So how do we become financially, sustainable? And how do we grow our finances as a family, and as well as a community? Um, Also identify potential partners. So again, going back to that example that I talked about in the beginning, is looking to other communities for support, and for information. How were they able to grow their community? Speaking to families on, that are wealthy or affluent, or that, are able to, live at, a different, live according to a different economic standard. How were they able to achieve it? And borrowing some of those ideas, and then implementing them into our own families or implementing them into this community. You also want to create an action plan or a mission, and actually an action plan and a mission statement. And so basically, what is the goal of this particular community? What is the overarching goal? And then what is the action plan? What are we going to tackle first? Then what is step number two? What is step number three, step number four, and so on and so on and so on. And creating, Allah, God operates in decency and order. So, by creating this action plan, this mission statement, it helps us to stay focused as a community. So everyone in the community, everyone in the family needs to know what the mission statement, the overall goal of the family is, whether it's to, create a, a business that, our family can live off of for years to come. You could start a venture where maybe I know some, Muslim families that are into real estate. All of their children own different properties, and it's properties that will be passed down. This is a legacy that's being left for the children and for generations to come, inshallah. It could be, a store. It could be, some type of business or something like that that is passed down from generation to generation. And, what will the family or the organization or the community, what will they support? What types of efforts will they support? Will they build wells? Will they support cancer research? What is the main goal, and what are the things that will support? You want to create an action plan for that, and create the order in which you are going to do those things. And so I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into each step. There are a total of 6 steps. And step one is identify what needs to be sustained. So, most Muslim communities endeavor to offer a complete, comprehensive, and technological approach to Islamic learning, socializing, and spiritual development within the framework of community. And you can choose what you want for your family or what you want for your specific community. But it's a great place to start. So, what supports our ability? Something to ask in a community meeting, something to ask in your family meeting is what supports our ability as a Muslim community to preserve Islam as practiced by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I talked about that a little bit earlier. We need to educate ourselves on Islam. The more we know who we are, the less someone can come in and tell us who we are and dictate what we are allowed to do. Step two is identify what resources are required. What do we need? First, we need a hub for the community to gather, not only to worship, but to learn about their faith and encourage scholarship. Discuss and provide solutions for problems and the needs of the community. How much money do we need to provide academic, spiritual, and financial education to the community? That's something that you need to think about prior to starting your community. What will it cost to own the mosque the community gathers in? Or what will it cost to, own the home, that this family gathers in? How will the community mosque, the family, sustain itself? So how will you be able to pay your mortgage? How will you be able to pay the bills for the family? How will the community, how will a masjid community be able to pay for the building? That, they should own the building, not have to rent. They should own the mosque, where, the community gathers. What are the costs associated with running the mosque, the organization, the family, and its programs? It's a great idea with your community board, with your community members. Brainstorm ideas on how the mosque and or community can sustain itself. You can think of maybe attached to the masjid as a halal restaurant, a halal supermarket and stores, gas stations, cleaners, a pharmacy, community clinic, fitness center, a farm, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Step three, create community case statements. Like I talked about earlier, community case statements defines the benefit of its initiative. So you want to make this extremely and abundantly clear from the very beginning. How your community plans to achieve its goals. So, you're outlining how your community plans to achieve the goals that create financial, societal, and environmental sustainability. What are the specific problems the community is facing? How can we solve for them? What is the value of solving these problems? And then you want to create an outline for when and how these problems will be addressed. So, once we create the systems and processes to address community problems, next we should ask how we can start to make greater contributions to the whole community. So, how will the community as a whole benefit? How can we contribute as individuals to the community to move the community forward, inshallah? So, we're going to take a slight break here. This episode was sponsored by the Boss Hijabi Planner. The Boss Hijabi Planner is ideal for the boss hijabi and the professional Muslim woman, entrepreneur, student, and any woman of faith, really, with a busy schedule. So it's designed to help you prioritize prayer, important tasks, schedule appointments, meet deadlines, take notes, and most importantly, track your results. We chose our planner's unique designs so that it can fit virtually anywhere. A designer bag, a briefcase, a carry-on, and more. That Burberry bag, girl, okay? Our planner will help you plan and succeed in every area of your life: faith, family, finances, and wellness. You can purchase the Boss Hijabi Planner at www.bunhd.com or halimadeolivera.com or amazon.com. And it's available in black and white. So now, without any further ado, let's take a dive into steps 4 through 6. So step 4, determine your financing strategies. So crowdfunding is the quickest way to jumpstart any community initiative and use the money to make calculated investments that grow the initial investments. Go back to step 2 to identify those initiatives. Do your best to circulate and keep the dollar in the community. I wanted to share this. I had a conversation earlier in the week on Clubhouse, and something that was said, and I found it so like, you know what I mean? We have to get past this point, and knowledge is truly power. And one of the women that asked me a question, and she asked me, she said, you know, I was told by, a business coach that, if I work in the Muslim community, or I, try to grow my business in the Muslim community, that I'm going to be broke, that the Muslim community doesn't support us other Muslims. And I want to share these two statistics with you to kind of change that ideology, and for you to rethink, to think about what your values are. What do you value as a business? And what is it that you want? What are your goals? And to not, put barriers in place, and to kind of change your mindset, and think of things in a different way, and do more research before you necessarily take a stance that, hey, the Muslim community is not going to support me. Like, there's no money in the Muslim community. And so here are the statistics. So the first one is about people of color, so Black people specifically. So when we talk about, do your best to circulate and keep the dollar in your community. For those of you that are, from the Black community, the national buying power of Blacks in 2019 was $1.4 trillion. I'm going to say that again. The national buying power of Blacks in 2019 was $1.4 trillion. So, when it is said that, Black people are broke, or Black people don't have any money, etc., they have money. And we have say so, with our dollar. And so it's important for us to learn these statistics before we start, second guessing ourselves, or we start, saying, oh, this is not possible for me. $1.4 trillion is nothing to snub your nose at. There are businesses that know that number, and they are taking advantage and marketing to the Black community, so that they can have a piece of that $1.4 trillion. If you are a business that just wants to get to that first 100,000, or you want to get to that first 500,000, you want to get to that first million, you can have a piece of that 1.4 trillion by marketing to the Black community. All right. The second statistic is the American Muslim spending power was $170 billion in 2009. That number has gone up since then. And I'm going to share another statistic a little bit later, but $170 billion was the American Muslim spending power in 2009. So worldwide spending in Islam-inspired ethical consumption sectors is set to increase 45% by 2024. That is only 2 years from now. So in 2 years from now, it's going to reach 3.2 trillion. And of course, this is globally, right? It's going to reach $3.2 trillion from the end of last year, according to a new report. And I believe this report was as of 2021. So I talked about this on Clubhouse, and I talked about the 7 sectors that are covered under this umbrella. And across 7 sectors, this 3.2 trillion dollars is spread out across these 7 sectors, including Islamic finance and 6 consumer sectors. And those consumer sectors are halal food, modest fashion. We already know modest fashion is huge. Pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, media and recreation, and Muslim friendly travel. So halal travel, right? Studies say that the average lifespan of the dollar is approximately 28 days in the Asian communities, 19 days in Jewish communities, 17 days in white communities, and just 6 hours in Black communities. So it's important to know where we are. And it's important for us to find ways to recirculate the dollar into our community, and start doing more of this collaboration over competition. And how can I, you know, utilize the services of another Muslim organization or another Black Muslim organization or another, Latin, Latino Muslim, organization or company? How can I circulate my dollar within those, sectors so that, that money has the likelihood of recirculating back to me and keeping us all, thriving as a community, inshallah. So step number 5 is identify potential partners. So again, going back to this collaboration, right? So identify the characteristic you want your potential partners to have. And here are some examples. So these could be community leaders. This could be a husband or wife scenario. So if you're, a female and you're looking for a husband, if you're a husband and you're looking for a wife, think about these characteristics. Do they possess these characteristics as you're going to the sit down, as you're, looking for a spouse, or as you're having these conversations? Are they self-aware? And the person that is self-aware, they know, knows their strengths, as well as their areas of opportunity. They're eager to learn and adapt. Today I think this way through education, and then my thinking evolves, right? So today I think, this way, but I learned something new today and it's evolved and I'm growing and I'm evolving. And, it's not only of benefit to me personally, it's beneficial to my family, and it's beneficial to my community and the society as a whole. They're empathetic. They're able to operate with integrity. They're eager to serve or to be of service, and they possess great interpersonal skills. So this is from the top down. So the leadership, the overall leadership needs to possess this, and every member of the community needs to possess these characteristics. They're self-motivated, intelligent, and forward-thinking. Step number 6 is to create the action plan and the mission statement, as we talked about earlier. Every community member, every family member needs to know the goals of the community, of the family, and be involved in the process of helping to achieve the goal. They must understand their role. They must understand the importance of their role and how without them, different parts of the plan does not move as efficiently without each individual member. And that's both as a family and as a community. And also, what is the community's tenure, 5-year, 3-year, and 1-year plan? What are they plan to achieve within 1 year? What are the checks and balances? Who holds them accountable to achieving, these goals at the 10-year, 5-year, 3-year, and 1-year mark? Many organizations or communities opt to have a board just for that accountability, or they opt to have some type of, leadership, where they meet, and there's a checks and balances. This is extremely important, especially if what you're trying to do is, you're changing the way that a community thinks. You're changing the entire way that a community thinks. It's important to have these checks and balances in place. Okay, this was our goal for first quarter of 2022. Are we on pace to achieve it? What did we miss, and how do we make up for it? Communicating with the community so they know, everything that's happening, inshallah. What causes will the community champion? How will they give, in charity? How are decisions being made? What are the mile markers, again, that determine the progress? So the plan that I would, love for you guys to sit, and I think that anyone can use this. Anyone can use these, 6 steps that I gave you to create the plan for their life, to create the plan for their family, to create, their current family or their future family, to create a plan for a community. So, the plan that you create should allow you and your family or your community, again, these words, to start, sustain, and grow your family plan, meaning allowing you to reach your goals. So perhaps one of the goals is everyone in the family, if they are of age, is going to get a job, and we are going to work to save the down payment to start our ice cream business, and maybe we need $5,000 to get started. Everyone is going to contribute $100 per paycheck, and we're giving ourselves 6 months to raise this $5,000. Then we're going to buy them, the machine. We're going to test where we're going to market our product, where we're going to sell our product. however, whatever the case may be, but creating, those steps. In year one, our goal is to sell, to have this much money in revenue. Year two, this, year three, this, and on and on and on and on and on. And then how do we grow it every single year? A plan to, how do we sustain? So we reach $1 million in sales. How do we sustain that? Make sure that we continue to achieve $1 million a year. And then how do we grow that? What are the steps that we need to take to be able to grow that? It's important for you to sit down with your family and your community leaders and identify what needs to be sustained. Again, I'm just reiterating that. How will each individual family earn income that's not only sustains their family, but also allows them to contribute their resources to the community? So allows them to contribute their money, allows them to contribute their time, allows them to contribute their talents, right? Families whose immediate needs are met now have the resources and the presence of mind to focus on their spiritual, financial, and educational development. So, this particular episode, this is a little bit of a different episode, but I truly and truly wanted to share just this presentation because I felt that it was impactful when I delivered it, and I felt that more people could benefit from this particular presentation. So I want to say thank you so much for being here. I pray that this was a benefit, and inshallah, I will see you in the next episode next week, inshallah. So make sure that you turn on your notifications, inshallah. So we will be coming back and we will be talking for episode 70. We will be talking to our brother Musa Moses, the comic, and we'll be learning about his upcoming showcase that he is having in Philadelphia, and we'll be learning so much more. So Jazakallah khair for being here, and I pray was a benefit. And if it was, please be sure to share, and don't forget to go over, if you're not already following me, to go over it and follow me over at BUNHD. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.